And that's why Crowder said silence is consent. And I thought to myself, when I watched this video this morning, I was like, whoa, dude. Because that's what the left has been saying. I hear what you mean. Mm-hmm. I get it. Man, I don't like the idea. Like that, but it's true, man. Now I laugh at the left when they say it because they're out screaming at the top of their lungs. They're not silent.
Yep.
And now we're seeing, even Crowder's coming out and saying it. I got to tell you, man, from hearing from especially a lot of people in the chat and the super chat about Trump.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced he's going to win at this point. I was thinking landslide for a long time watching everything.
Yeah.
But then I started talking to Trump supporters.
Okay.
I started, I reached out to a friend of mine and they said, no way, I'm not voting for him again. And I'm like, really? Yeah. And
well, I'll tell you this. I took a walk earlier today and I saw a lot of Trump's signs.
For sure.
I walk around our neighborhood a lot.
Yeah.
I've never seen them.
We're in a blue district.
But now, are we in a blue district?
We're in a heavy blue district.
Well, let me tell you, there's Trump signs all over our neighborhood now.
Yeah.
I didn't see them 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. It was like I was like, oh, look what.
They're everywhere. They're popping up.
Wow,
This is the season.
There's Trump supporters around here. Like, geez,
there's a lake.
All right.
There's a lake nearby.
Right, I remember this.
Somebody went into the middle of the lake. It's like in the middle of the highway.
Yeah.
So weird.
And they stuck a giant Trump flag
in the center of the lake.
In the center of the lake. How there's no dock. Like somebody.
That was commitment.
That was commitment.
Like, I'm doing it.
Yeah, they committed to that.
But there's a lot of signs. So here's what I'm feeling. I'm seeing all these things and I'm like, Trump landslide, dude. Riots, explosions, insults, derision. Oh yeah. And then I started seeing a bunch of Trump supporters, like, man, some people that I really, really like, high profile people being like, nope.
Okay.
And you know what it could be? It could be that they're trying to make sure hubris doesn't stand in Trump's way.
Yeah.
Because if everyone is so convinced he'll win, they'll be like, I don't need to vote. He'll win. And then he loses.
Maybe that's it.
And so they need to maintain, maybe, I don't know though, man. But, man.
I think he's going to win.
Here's what's crazy. The people who are complaining about Trump are complaining he doesn't do enough, right? So what you basically have are conservatives demanding a stronger strongman.
Yep.
More authority.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was reading some threads and it was interesting because some people were saying, like, I saw some tweets from people saying that they weren't going to support Trump anymore, that he's let them down. And the response from someone else was, do you have any idea what will happen if Trump doesn't win? If the Republicans don't win? It's like, you may be upset that the Republicans aren't doing anything, but at least they're holding back what could be.
That scares
if
me.
the Democrats get in.
It's a good point.
At this point.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what, man. You look at the Democrats 10 years ago, and they were saying very similar things to Trump, even Bernie Sanders. And then the rise of the far left happened. And then all you got to do is just take a Google search Democrats kneel.
We should call them alt-left.
Well, they've been called
I like
alt-left
that
for a
idea.
long time.
Oh, I haven't heard that, but
The alt-left was a reference to the identitarian left.
that's what it is.
That's who they are.
Yeah, and they got really mad about it, and they were like, "It's not fair. You can't call us that because the alt-right calls themselves alt-right." And I'm like, I don't care what I'm gonna
It
call you
makes
whatever
them
I
mad?
want.
Good.
Yep. Well, I'm going to start using it from now on.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
That's good.
But they are.
Right.
There's no difference. They're trying to divide us. They're making, like, shoving race down everyone's throat,
it's
segregating us. Like, I don't want to be segregated. I like someone on their valor of their heart and their mind. That's what makes a character, not your skin color.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Period.
Yeah. Of course.
So they're alt-left.
Well, alt-left. It's a reference to identitarianism.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
they are
the alt-right,
identitarianism.
identitarian right, alt-left, identitarian left,
Yeah.
and it's freaky, man.
Yep.
It's just people don't realize what that means to live live with this racial policy stuff. It is authoritarianism to the max. There's an overlap with communism. They won't let you change your circumstances. You are what you are. Nah, F that.
Yep.
I'm not cool with that. I am of the persuasion that we are all dealt a card of hands in life. We're all dealt a hand of cards.
Yeah, there you go.
A card of hands.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, a card with hands on it. We're all dealt a hand of cards.
There we go.
There we go. And sometimes you get a really bad hand.
Yep.
But I'll tell you what, man, I've watched some pretty good poker games where a dude has a trash hand and he wins the pot.
Yep.
And that means you may come from bad circumstances and you can make it.
Yep.
That's America.
Yeah.
Think about the race-based policy, dude. It blows my mind that my friends that I talk to periodically, when I try to explain to them what they're doing and why it's bad and racist, and they're convinced they're better. Harvard, for instance, won the right to discriminate based on race, straight up.
Seriously.
Yeah, so Harvard has a high density of Asians.
Okay.
So they created a program because we have too many Asians. We need to get more, Latinos and black students.
Okay.
So they set lower thresholds. If you're an Asian and you want to get into Harvard, you got to score like a 1330 on the SATs.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like what Oxford's doing now. They're like, oh, if you're black, you don't have to do as much work.
You want to know why this is
Like,
horrifying?
Excuse me? How degrading is that?
Seriously.
You don't have to work as hard because you can't do what any other race is doing. Like, excuse me?
Yeah, that's affirmative
How is
action.
that not crazy racism right there?
Yep.
Well, let me tell you.
Oxford.
Here's
talking to you.
Here's what the left says when you bring up the Asian thing. They say, well, we're trying to create equality, and there's too many Asians there, right? And my response is, I don't know. Are they Iranian? Are they Indian? Are they Chinese, Laotian, Vietnamese, Japanese? What do you mean by Asian?
Yeah, all
Right.
those people are Asian.
What does that mean?
No, we clump them all together.
Exactly.
the same.
And so here's
Yeah.
what they don't tell you. What they don't tell you is that the Asians at Harvard are wealthy Indian immigrants
Okay.
and wealthy Chinese immigrants. And so what they're telling you, here's what I said to my friends. I was like, do me a favor. You're okay with this? Institutional racism? All right. I know a kid, 13 years old from the south side of Chicago, living in the gutter. A friend of mine's got a kid, okay? They're poor. I want you to go to that kid, look him right in the eyes and say, honey, you can't go to Harvard because you look too much like that person. That's it. That's the only reason why you can't do that.
That's it.
And that's what the left has won. It didn't used to be that way. It used to be that way a long time ago,
Yeah.
decades ago. We
Okay.
won. We passed laws. You can't do it.
Right.
We're all created equal. It isn't the content of your character, not the color of your skin.
Boom.
And here comes the Democrats.
Yeah.
Isn't it
where
funny?
where did we lose that? And how are people fighting for that
The
right now?
Democrats, when did they stop being racist?
Never.
I guess,
Exactly.
yeah, they never did.
They just changed it over.
Yeah,
right?
Biden has said in the past month, if you ain't voting for me, if you haven't figured out that you're voting for me, you ain't black. It's like,
Really?
excuse me?
That is.
What did you just say, dude? Are you kidding me?
Who was that Republican we just watched? Was it Sean Parnell? Is that his name?
Sean
Parnell.
Parnell.
Yep.
Yeah,
That ad
that ad
was amazing.
It was
Based.
great.
I
Well,
loved it.
so there's a Republican named Sean Parnell, and it's a really great ad. It was going viral. People were sharing it like crazy. But he like walks up to a screen and he's like, I'll never tell you who you should vote for based on your race or your ethnicity. And then he looks and then it shows Joe Biden saying it.
Yeah.
And then he's like, he shrugs and he walks away. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
dude, come on,
seriously.
man.
Yeah.
Did you see what they said about what's the senator's name? Tom Scott?
Tom Scott. Yeah, the Tim Scott,
Tim Scott.
I believe.
Ooh, that's a great name.
Yeah, I know. It's the best name.
They called his police reform plan a token gesture or something.
Dude.
Okay.
These people sicken me, man.
Well, they don't have
sicken
any.
me.
They don't have any ideas themselves.
The Democrats?
A lot of these people screeching.
Oh, for sure.
They don't have any ideas.
They don't
No,
know
of
what they're
course not.
screeching for.
They don't even know what they're screeching
Yeah.
for. Yep.
Do they even
Well-
notice they're using words like token? That's my question.
They do.
Right.
You remember that video we talked about that like 18-year-old girl getting arrested and hyperventilating? And they're
yeah.
like she needs her dialysis.
Oh, the be gay, do crime.
Right, right, yes.
Girl. Right. Okay.
In that video, they shout racial slurs at the cops. Straight up. I'm like, dude, I went to a
Wow.
rally in Los Angeles. I think it was a Black Lives Matter rally.
Okay.
And Trump supporters were having their own march. I can't remember exactly what it was. Everybody was marching. And then two groups kept come together, and the cops kept them separated.
Okay.
And they were, guess what? The Trump group was ethnically diverse.
Okay.
Didn't really mean anything to me. I don't know.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't think
People.
twice
Americans.
until I heard the left start screaming racial slurs,
Dude.
Wow.
like hard N-word,
That's
Dude.
crazy.
a bunch of other things I can't say, the C word. They got words for it, man. This is what Terry Crews was talking about.
Yep.
The words they use, I won't even say. And I think the left, like,
Excuse me. The alt left.
Yes.
no, I mean, I'm sorry, man.
The whole left. You
it's
think?
it's fair to
Full on left.
it's fair to, I guess, to call them the alt left, but they've taken over.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Okay.
their ideology is pervasive. Like
Yeah.
if you don't bend the knee, like they'll come for you. They'll take your job. And so, yeah, at a point it was alt left, but now I'll tell you what, man. they've started purging media companies.
Yep.
And now the high-ranking positions are being dominated by this cult. The Washington Post announced that they're opening up a whole bunch of new jobs specifically for the new religion. Think about that. How would you feel if the New York Times announced that they were bringing on a new director of Judaism? Literally. And they were like, they're gonna oversee our entire staff to make sure there's enough Judaism in our office.
People would flip out.
That'd be so weird.
They wouldn't necessarily flip out, but they'd be like, that's weird. Now, I'll tell you what, if they did Christianity.
Oh, then they would flip out.
It would be nuts. It would be
unacceptable.
People would be throwing things.
Oh, yeah, they'd flip out.
Oh, yeah.
But I just mean, I chose Judaism because I'm just trying to bring up like any religion.
Okay.
Like Buddhism. People would be like, what? Why is a newspaper going to have a director that oversees all of the staff and makes sure they're all talking about Buddhism enough?
I know. It's just interesting because they do seem awfully like anti-Jew, which is...
Oh, for sure, man. The mainstreaming of Farrakhan.
Right.
Yeah, the overlap between the alt-right and the alt-left, man.
I want you all listening to think for 1 second. What would you say to somebody if they started, showing off Nazi imagery and iconography and symbols, and then you brought up the mainstreaming of Hitler, and they said, well, I don't much care for him. I mean, he's a bad guy, but I really like what the party is doing. You'd be like, what? No way, dude.
I bet we could find quotes from Farrakhan and quotes from Hitler and ask people, like, which one is which?
We should do that.
Which one?
Well, to be fair, there's a lot of, just because someone's evil doesn't mean you're not going to be able to find a quote that someone would agree with.
Yeah,
Okay.
but they'd have to be the
Like,
same
that's
theme.
the joke.
Not
Hitler
that they
had a dog, too.
It's not that they agree with, but who said it? If Hitler's evil and Farrakhan isn't evil.
What I mean is you can find a quote from Farrakhan where he says, I sure do love a good cheeseburger on a Sunday afternoon.
Right.
And people are going to be like, I don't know.
Well, that's a trick.
That's not really the quotes that I would
understand,
be looking for.
I understand what you mean, but what I'm saying is there's probably a lot of political quotes from Farrakhan that are probably fine.
Sure.
And that's the point.
Like, you could probably say the same thing about Hitler, but he's still an evil person.
For sure. That's why the James Lindsay and Bogosian and Helen Pluckrose were able to take a section of Mein Kampf and change it to feminist words.
Right.
And they ate it up.
Yep.
But that was actually a really horrifying passage, though. They went for like one of the worst.
Wow, really? And
Yeah,
people
dude.
still ate it up.
Yeah.
There was something really funny that happened in
Gullible people,
2016.
man.
Somebody took there was a letter that was written about coming out to their parents as gay.
Okay.
Somebody changed the word gay with Trump supporter.
All right.
And then Trump supporters started sharing it because they were like, wow, because
oh man,
it was like I had to tell my parents today that I was supporting Trump, and they got they got so angry at me. They told me to get out. They wouldn't accept it. And I'm like, that's such a weird thing.
Yeah.
It's so weird. I think Brandon Strzok says that. Didn't he say something like that? Like
Yeah,
it was easier to come out as gay than it was
Yeah.
to say you supported Trump.
A few people have said that it's easier to come out as being gay or like transgender than it is
Yeah.
to come out as being.
Oh yeah, I think
Republican.
Blair mentioned it too.
Yeah, she had a hard time with that.
yeah. There was that tweet that was floating around last week. It was like you get more like crap for being a Trump supporter than being a minority
Yeah.
Yeah.
nowadays.
Unless you are.
I'm not saying it's true or not. I don't know, but it's been floating around. Mad people shared it.
Yeah.
And it's like that's kind of in line with what we're talking about.
If you are a black Trump supporter, the left will use every racial slur in the book.
I've seen them, man.
Yep.
I try to follow a lot of different people from all sides of the spectrum to get a really good broad range of views from everybody, and it's like I don't want one source. I want all the sources.
Right.
And I'm seeing them out there and they're like, you know what? We don't care. I don't care what they say about me because I love my life. I'm successful. And I'm like, good for you. Like, good.
Weren't the eugenicists the Progressive Party? Like the progressives were eugenicists in the early 1900s?
I believe so.
I think so.
And I know of a very prominent progressive figure who is still admired and revered by the far left, or the far left and the intermediate.
There's a lot of, hold on. There's a lot of progressives that are admired by the far left.
Eugenics.
Oh, you mean there's
Eugenicist.
a prominent eugenicist?
Oh, she
who
was
is-
even a woman. Yeah, it was very nice. And her name was Margaret Sanger. And she's still admired and revered by the people at Planned Parenthood. So, yeah, it's interesting.
You know
I like
about
that
genetics,
overlap.
right?
Yeah.
Eugenics?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that's messed up, dude.
Yes, it is.
She's the only one I really know of, though. So,
What the eugenicist people don't realize, and that's what my concern is, like, I wonder how many of these leftists are secretly eugenicists. They don't realize that homogenizing gene pools is actually weakening the species.
Yep.
They seem to think that there's a path, and that's like, no, that's not the case. There's,
like, no, we get stronger by mixing our DNA.
Right.
That's survival of
I'll
the
tell you what,
fittest.
man.
Exactly.
People last longer by mixing their genes because I have certain resistances to certain things, and the next person might not. We mix and create a child that is stronger.
This is
Boom.
why
Yeah.
they took diversity is a strength, which is factually true,
Yep.
and they completely twisted it into a weird,
So
bizarro
weird,
zombie of
yeah.
authoritarian nonsense.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you what, man, it is double speak. Let me ask you a question. First, let's point out the simple reality of diversity. We don't just mean genetics. We mean opinions, ideas,
Right.
thoughts. The original idea was supposed to be that if you had a dude who was from, say, India or China,
Okay.
and he came here, they'd be like, I have seen the world in a very different way from you. Let me show you what I've seen. And then you'll be like, wow, I never thought of that.
Right.
So it's not just about their race. It was about who they were. But yes, there have been many studies talking about like an analog to hybrid vigor in mixed race peoples. So these things are true. But let me ask you a question. If they really believed diversity was a strength, why would they segregate farms and buildings? And why would they call for this weird segregation type stuff?
I don't know.
Because they're liars.
Yeah.
Because
they know it's
they're
not
manipulating
true.
everybody. They've pulled the pull the wool over their eyes or whatever. And so now you have people saying things like this: diversity is our strength, and they don't actually mean that. It's double speak.
Yep.
They're the ones actively trying to equate an orc to a racial minority.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah, it's messed up.
They don't really believe diversity is a strength. And I pointed this out too because Tucker Carlson did a segment on this saying it wasn't. And he made a good point saying that cohesion is important and working together and having a shared culture is important. It's like, yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, we're a melting pot. That's
But-
what America is.
The shared culture of America is the umbrella of our Constitution. And so long as people come under that, then we're not falling apart. But my rebuttal to that was Tucker has on probably the most diverse set of opinions for any cable show. Brian Stelter of CNN, he won't have on Real Critics. Rachel Maddow won't have on Real Critics.
Right.
None of them will. Don Lemon, Anderson Cooper, they won't.
Well, Don Lemon, I feel like he had that police chief who ripped him apart.
And
he was regretting that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was like, "We're gonna go to commercial." He's not saying what
He's not
I
saying the
want
right
him to
thing.
say.
Yeah.
But then look
I was
at
like,
this.
"Wow."
Tucker Carlson actively tries to get.
He does. He had the Antifa dude on.
He had a bunch of
Yeah, he
different
had the
Antifa
giraffe
people.
professor on.
Yeah, the giraffe
Oh,
professor.
Man, what a neck.
Yeah, man. And I'm like, there it is, bro. I was like, you absolutely do represent the strength in having different ideas come on and be challenged. And that's diversity of opinion. That when you homogenize things, it weakens. Because then your opportunity for finding a solution is more limited.
Right.
But there's boundaries, there's limits, right? I'm not literally saying take people from all over the world, put them in a room together, shake it up, and see what happens. I'm saying
seems
no.
like a bad
we
idea.
have a constitution. We have
And in that Constitution, it says you shall smash the like button.
Oh yeah, that is the Constitution.
well the
Correct.
Constitution
No.
here.
Does it not say it? Our Constitution.
Yeah,
Sorry,
that's
did
our
I not
Constitution.
specify?
Yeah, he's talking about the U.S.
Right.
Constitution.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
No, so I've made videos about this, and it's funny when they try and claim that I'm not. Look, man, I don't care if people call me left or right. It literally is meaningless. But I'll tell you what, like even Zuby tweeted out, Zuby the rapper, great dude, that institutional racism and systemic racism are real and they're pervasive, but it's probably too deep to get into a big thread on Twitter.
Yeah.
Something to that effect.
Yeah.
And I probably have a different perspective on him.
He's a smart dude, though.
He's a really smart dude.
He posts a lot of smart ideas about what's going on that a lot of people don't want to address. They want to skip the stuff that he's talking about.
Yep.
Yeah.
So here's what's going on right now. There are people who are legit center left, liberal, whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, the Brett and Eric Weinstein, people like you and me probably, Zuby. Well, actually, I think Zuby is a conservative.
Okay.
But there's not, and now it's just called the politically homeless. Because the left is now dominated by this fringe, dogmatic, race-based
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
doublespeak.
Yep.
And conservatives have a bunch of views that, a lot of them I don't agree with.
Same here.
However, the disagreements I have with conservatives are relatively minor compared to the threat of our fundamental existence as a freedom-loving people.
Right.
So what basically happens is the umbrella that is America is under attack by forces that are outside that umbrella. So liberals and conservatives, the legit Americans, actually, there was a graph about this. It was really fascinating. It shows where Democratic voters were and Trump voters were based on a spectrum of social issues and economic issues.
Okay.
Trump voters were all on the top of social issues, opposing social justice narratives and authoritarianism, but spread out economically.
Okay.
Meaning you literally have 50-50 of Trump supporters between progressive economics and more laissez-faire economics. But the Democrats were all clustered in socialist social justice.
Wow.
So that's what I mean to say is there are people who probably in 2008 voted for Obama. And we definitely know this for sure. 10 million people went from Obama to Trump. And it's because you have Trump's base is actually split up between people who are just about America. But they disagree on should we have higher taxes, lower taxes? Should we have better health, like more taxpayer funded healthcare type ideas, public option or universal versus private? And then you have the Democratic Party, social justice.
Yeah.
Or whatever social justice means. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. If you want to catch the full show, tune in to this channel, subscribe, hit the like button, or check us out on iTunes and Spotify. And we will soon have this podcast up for free on all podcast platforms. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all in the next episode.